Do you have a product or service or an event that you are wanting to plan a launch around? If so, today's episode is just for you. Hi, I'm Allie Rittenhouse, online business coach and digital strategist. And in today's episode is all about launching. And one thing that I have learned over the years is that you have to look outside of your business and your industry to pick up some creative ideas to implement into your own business. And that's exactly what I did for today's episode. These 7 awesome tips are coming to us thanks to Miss Taylor Swift and her recent launch of her brand new single. But don't worry, if you're not down with T-Swizzle, you can still take away these awesome tips and implement them into your next launch. You may or may not know, but I'm borderline obsessed with Taylor Swift for many reasons, but not only do I love her music, I also love her marketing brain. And she is brilliant in everything that she does. When she drops a new single to going on tour, she thinks about every single detail. And I'm going to bring you some great suggestions today to implement into your next launch from T-Swizzle's recent drop of her new single, Me. Now let me just tell you, she spent approximately 13 weeks promoting and teasing her audience about this brand new single that was going to be dropping. 13 weeks to just tease about a single. Think about that the next time that you are planning your next launch, and how much effort are you putting into talking about your launch? All the time people come to me and they're like, I tried to do everything that so-and-so did in their launch and it didn't work for me. And you have to look outside of what everybody else is doing and bring in some creative sense to have a good, solid launch. And the number 7 is not a random number of tips, and that's just not the number that I could come up with. Truth be told, I could probably have came up with 50 things that Taylor did to make this launch so spectacular. But I picked 7 because this is Taylor's 7th album, and she is very smart when it comes to the details, which brings us to our first tip. And that is thinking about every single detail when it comes to your launch. From what email is going to be sent on what day to what you are going to be posting about on social media, how you are going to start out that launch and how you are going to end that launch with your end game. This is really important to making sure that you have a successful launch. And this is something that Taylor does so very well. For 13 weeks, she dropped hints about what was going to be coming on a particular date and time. And she thought about every single detail that could have possibly made it even better. And I want you to take the time and be putting it into the pre-planning of your launch. A lot of times people just go into launch mode and don't think about the steps to lead into it or how to come out with a bang, and they rush all of the details, which in turn is why their launch might not turn out to be as successful as they would like for it to. When you are planning out each and every detail of your launch, you know how you need to show up, what needs to happen, and the day and time that it's going to happen on. And here's something else that she did really well, which leads into our next tip for today, and that is releasing her launch calendar. Now, I'm not saying that you have to send out a calendar with every single email or social post that you are making, but let your audience know what is going on, what to expect, and when they need to show up. That's exactly what she did. And I can tell you that I stayed up until midnight on a work night just to watch this video launch. I might have been exhausted the next day and I might have had a little bit of a Taylor hangover, but it was so exciting to go through every step into the lead up and then watch her live stream video launch at midnight. She used all aspects from social media to email marketing to live streaming to make sure that she was engaging her audience. And with that launch calendar, it allows for you to engage your audience and tell them exactly when they need to show up and be present for you and for your launch. She made sure that her audience was the first to know. And you have to remember to tell them where to show up at so that they can be the first to know as well and take advantage of whatever it is that you are launching and releasing. Because everybody loves to be a part of something. They all love an experience. Which again then leads into our next tip, which is creating an experience with your launch. In the mundane of every single day, people are craving experience, not just with somebody famous, but in every single thing that they are doing. They want an experience, from going to the grocery store to picking out their wedding dress now. People want to be taken on a journey, and that is definitely something that Taylor Swift did with the release of this song. She took her fans through an experience and a journey to seeing what the launch was going to be like. We knew that it was going to be shiny and happy and rainbow and colors and cats and all of these different things that were completely different from her last launch. And in turn, that made everybody even more excited about it because they felt like they were going to be a part of that experience, like they knew some kind of insider secret that nobody else knew when that song released. And I might be calling you out on this today, but a launch is a big deal. It's not just something that you show up on a Monday and release a couple of videos and expect everybody to show up for. A launch is a really big deal, and you should be putting more time and effort into planning it out ahead of time. Planning out every single step that you want your customer to take in the journey. Care more about them than you do the sale that is going to happen at the end. You want them to know that they are taken care of and that whatever problem it is that they are experiencing, you are going to help them solve it. Through that experience, they will feel that. So it's time to spend a little bit more time planning out your next launch. And as you are planning out that experience and putting dates down on the calendar, you want to think about how can you show up and be a tease, just like Taylor did. And I might venture to say that some guys that knew me in high school might say the same about myself, but that's okay because it just makes me a better marketer today. And that kind of rhymed. Unintentional, of course. You want to see how can you tease your audience into whatever it is that you are getting ready to launch. One simple thing that Taylor did to this launch that we see in the online marketing world, but often gets forgotten about because it's such a simple thing that you can use, is a countdown timer. Countdown timers are great because it gets people excited and it lets them know what is that upcoming date, when is it going to happen, and they can put it down on their calendar and know that they are involved in the process. Now, there are some great tools out there that allow for you to add in a countdown timer either to your website or into the emails that you are sending out. You can even post them on your Instagram story with a particular date in mind. So utilize these countdown timers as they are available for you in being a tease of what's coming up next. Maybe it's a tease into the launch of your free series or challenge that is going to kick off your launch. Then it's teasing into when the cart is opening up for your launch. And from there, then it might be counting down to either the cart closing or the event that you are hosting. So have fun with this launch in the dates that you're creating and the timeline and the experience that you're putting together all of these steps for. And don't forget to be that tease that is really getting your audience excited about what's coming up next. Now, I've mentioned this about Taylor before. She's really great at pattern interrupts. And something that she did in this launch that was completely different from anything that maybe she's ever done before was she was a part of a live interview with Robin Roberts during the NFL draft that was coincidentally happening in Nashville. Now, if you know Taylor, you know, well, I don't really know her, but if you follow her, you know that nothing is coincidental when it comes to her. Everything is planned out. And so for her showing up to a completely different audience than where her people might actually be, it's all about that introduction and trying to find new people that are going to be into her new music. So she placed herself in front of an unsuspecting audience by showing up to that interview. And again, it was a complete surprise. She was a tease with it. She didn't really tell anybody, but she just said, watch for me tonight on this station. And so that is something that you want to think about. What are some audiences that you can place yourself in front of during your launch that are maybe a little bit out of the norm that you usually would place yourself in front of when launching? You never know when your next follower is going to come from that audience, and they're going to be somebody that you never thought that you could reach before. Growing and expanding your audience is really important to having a successful launch. So looking outside of the norm of that audience is a great way to position yourself, to be able to grow and expand your reach and those that you convert over in your launch time. It's great to have an audience, but it's even better to expand it every time you launch. These are all important things to be doing and thinking about as you are creating that launch calendar for yourself. And if you need a little bit of help planning out that launch, stay tuned to the end of the video because I have a great resource that's going to help you out. Now, coming into this new single launch, something that Taylor did that maybe wasn't necessarily seen in the launch prep and process is something that I want you to really pay attention to and make sure that you are doing the mindset work behind it. And that is knowing your worth and your value. You have to know that you are showing up at your highest value and that you are worth every single dollar that you are going to be charging for that product, that service, or that event. Because if you don't believe in it and you don't believe that you are worth it, your audience is going to see right through you and they're not going to sign up and buy either. One thing that Taylor did before coming into this was that she knew her worth and her value. She switched labels, made sure that she owned her music and that she capitalized on making money off of streaming. And she wasn't going to go into this album number 7 without that secured. So she knew her worth, her value, and what she was bringing to the table. And you have to know that because it is so important. If you can't see the value of yourself, your audience isn't going to either. Which then kind of also leads into the last tip for today's video. And one thing to say is that you can't spell awesome without me. One thing that Taylor does really well is that she embraces who she is. And that's exactly what this song celebrates that she just released. And normally when you're talking about a launch, it's not about you. It's about your customer that is going to be buying from you and the journey that you're going to take them on. But in this final tip, I want you to embrace being you. Because baby, that is the fun of you. And it's something that I think often gets lost in this online entrepreneurial world where there are so many options. People come to me all the time and they say, but there's this person out there and there's this person out there doing the same thing that I am. But the thing that separates you from them is you. Nobody is going to teach it like you do. Nobody is going to share their mission like you have created. And so that is something that you must embrace. There are thousands of business coaches out there, but when my clients find me on Google's #1 page, they often tell me that they fall in love with who I am as a person, and then also about how I can help them show up in their business. So it's very much so about embracing who you are, what makes you the expert, and why you are worth that value that you are going to be charging. So you can see how those two tips coincide together and also coincide with Taylor's new release and the awesomeness that is coming from it, which I think is going to be her new album title, but she hasn't told us yet because, again, she's great at teasing. So these are all great tips that you can implement into your business and into your next launch. I hope you enjoyed this episode today. Now, if you're ready to plan out that launch a little bit more and you want some assistance, you can download my launch workbook either below this video or above it. And I definitely recommend that you download Taylor's new single and jam out to it as you are going through and planning out this launch. I mean, if we're being perfectly honest here, that's exactly what I'm going to do the minute that I stop recording this episode. I'm going to go jam out to it and dance a little bit in celebration. Thank you so much for watching this episode today. I'll see you in the next.